Hi, Raghu. Thank you so much for joining us on The Road Less Traveled. This is a series of conversations we have with people who've had interesting entrepreneurial journeys. And the idea is through your journeys and your challenges and the lessons you've learned and the road less traveled, we hope to inspire more Indians to become entrepreneurs. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you very much, Sandhya. I love the energy that's part of this, and even in the earlier conversations that I have been witnessed as part of Game. So super excited to be here.
Thank you. I'm going to start with asking you to take a journey back in time with me, Raghu. Let's visit Raghu when say he was 10 years old. And would I have met an entrepreneurial Raghu? Would you say, do you think you had the early qualities of an entrepreneur? Were you a risk-taking kid? Were you looking for interesting, innovative things to do? Or was that a muscle you've learned through your other work experiences?
Though I would wish to tell some really nice, interesting stories. I think I might tell you some boring stuff. I don't think if I were to look back and connect dots from my early childhood, I don't think a lot of dots around entrepreneurship. But you know what? I think looking back, just since you asked this question, there are few risks that I definitely have taken in my early childhood, and most of those risks haven't worked out. In fact, I think they haven't worked out to the extent that they could have become risky as well. One was, I think, my passion in my early childhood. Like most of the Indian boys, I was fascinated by cricket, and I was reasonably good at it. And I was selected to a district team in ninth. And to basically play for the district, I had to skip school for like 4-5 months, pretty much all the morning classes. So I took that chance of potentially putting my studies for like an year on
hold to follow your passion.
To go and play cricket. And but I think at that end of year, I didn't get selected to the next level, and it was very clear that my talents typically were not good enough to reach the highest standards of cricket. So that was a switch. Then I made it back to focus on my studies. So I think that's potentially the biggest risk that I have taken in my childhood. Nothing concerned about entrepreneurship, but I think looking back, that gave me a think about, you can always take bets, and if they don't work out, you can always come back and rebuild.
Yeah, no, that's key, right, to being an entrepreneur. So we kind of visited Raghu at 10. We understood he had some cricketing ambitions, tried that, went back to what he was better at. And today, through different experiences you've worked, you have a pretty prolific work career. Why Yellow AI? How did it start? What led you down this path?
Yeah, entrepreneurship has been on back of my mind ever since I started my work career, because I've seen companies where the culture was pretty entrepreneurial. The first company that I worked was for Texas Instruments, and just the company's history itself was phenomenally entrepreneurial. The first ever integrated circuit, first ever MNC in India, and even the teams here, they were designing the world's best chips, pioneering in each space. And even the India team in that company was quite entrepreneurial, right? So just the technology entrepreneurship was on back of my mind. But I think the actual founding of Yellow AI was more serendipity. I was meeting my friends, and somebody just mentioned that Facebook bought WhatsApp, and the way that WhatsApp is going to monetize is by enabling consumer business messaging. But at that time, it hasn't yet started that. And it felt like it was a fantastic idea whose time is yet to come. So it's a great opportunity to start building. And that led to me start experimenting with the idea, create some prototypes. And that was the genesis of the company.
Which year did this conversation
It was 2015, Sandhya.
Oh, lovely. and you've come a long way in 7 years.
Yeah.
What were the risks, though, Raghu, of moving away from a corporate job? I mean, most of us love the security of a regular income, and when you've done well,
Yeah.
it's hard to move away from that cushiness, right?
Yeah, it's hard and it's easy in both ways, Sandhya. I think at that point of time, I didn't consider it very risky because I think thanks for the good corporate career, I think I was reasonably good for taking a 3 to 5 year risk without impacting much of my lifestyle. So that was the cushion that got built with the corporate career. So at the time of really, I mean, I could give an interesting story, but the story is actually boring. Is I felt like, yeah, not much of risk. What's there? I mean, you've spent 3 4 years building it out, and as I said, you can always come back and rebuild back. I mean, uh, except for yeah, some digits of difference in the bank account, it wouldn't have made a big difference in my lifestyle. So to be frank, I didn't perceive that to be a very big risk. And in fact, I think there is a nice concept called affordable risk, which means that what is something that you are willing to lose to actually try out something with unlimited upside. And I felt that that was well within my affordable risk at that point of time. So yeah.
That's a lovely message to people watching, Raghu, and thinking about, hey, is an entrepreneurial journey for me? So I'm glad you called that out in what is your risk appetite in that sense, right? But I want to still stay with starting Yellow AI. And while you said it was a calculated risk to move away from a career, I mean, a regular corporate career to starting a business, I'd like to spend time on becoming an entrepreneur and the challenges of setting up a business. And the reason why I like to talk about it, not to glorify challenges, but I think a lot of that goes towards building your business, right? Your challenges, how you overcame them, how you've learned, how you've tweaked, and to where you are today. So if we can spend a little time on that, I'd love that.
Coming from a corporate career to here, I felt the number one challenge clearly is for people to come out of the ego that corporate careers can create. Typically, you are in a very well protected environment in typical corporates, right? So you're always praised. Typically, people are nice to you. So all that stuff, and most of the time you are right. To coming to entrepreneurship, you're criticized at every single point, and just taking from know it all to learn it all mindset is like, I think, the biggest difference and challenge that I think I and a lot of people need to overcome for entrepreneurship. Essentially, the ability to take no's, take rejections. Just the regular corporate careers and education don't prepare you for that. The second is, I think, the way of execution here is there's an absolute need for speed, how fast you can iterate compared to how it's in a typical corporate job or academic environment where there aren't a lot of uncertainties. It's fairly certain. There are not a lot of things to prove and disprove and learn. I think I would say that's the second. And third, I think never to put under the carpet, right? I think money is and cash flow is like absolutely the important thing. So the ability to raise funds, raise cash for running your operations. I mean, that's like one of the biggest things, biggest challenge.
And it's an ongoing challenge, right?
Ongoing challenge, right? It's an ongoing challenge, but I think it's the toughest in the initial days, is what I can say.
Just building on from challenges we have, you've shared some of those early challenges. I want to spend a little time on failure. I feel as a culture, we must learn to celebrate failure, not romanticize it, but understand that failure really is learning, right? And it's success, WIP.
Absolutely agreed. I think one of the learnings or the experiences is that you're mostly failing with one success in between, and potentially the growth happens with those sparse successes that you kind of see. And that's the truth even right now, right? I mean, most of the days you're hearing about problems and potentially failures of things that you try to do, and there is like one success in 10 different attempts that you make, and those kind of all are the building ladders. So I think it's the more about, I wouldn't say celebrating, but I would say resilience to
Yeah.
failure is more important than, I would say celebration is an external validation, in the sense that somebody externally is celebrating, or you're telling the other world that you are celebrating, but internally, I think it's the resilience that there is there's one more try, there is one more attempt that you could drive towards a successful attempt. I think that resilience is probably for me key in terms of.
We got the overall sense how critical that's been, right? Failure many times and growth in between those. But can we break down a particular idea or something you were attached to from an yellow AI perspective, where you gave it your all, it didn't work out, and what you needed to do to work around it, just so we break it down rather than a large idea?
Yeah, absolutely. Several example, as I said, right, from day one. So one, I think we've been just getting the first customer. I think we potentially have pitched more than 50 different customers to have got the first ever customer. So about 49 rejections or so before we got the first customer. And every time it just feels like, oh, you're never going to win a contract. You're never going to start your subscription business.
Yeah.
But I think that was a key thing on how you just get on. And the second one is, I think we tried to partner with one of the largest SI company, and they used to introduce us to their global customers. And we still marvel at the statistics. We met about 200 to 250 different customers till we
Wow.
landed first deal with them.
Wow.
And it's unbelievable kind of patience and resilience to go through that number of failures before you get.
Were there days in this process of meeting 250 customers where you almost gave up, where you said, oh, really?
I think you always feel that, but I think what keeps you going is, are you having fun doing it, and are you surrounded by positive people around you? So essentially, my co-founders are super positive people, and it's just like every day, it always felt like we were making progress in some way or the other. And yeah, we were always confident that I think it's a matter of time till we hit that trajectory where we are going to acquire customers at a frenetic pace, right? So just to give how things change, I mean, it used to take us to 3 months to 6 months to get one customer, and now it's about 2 customers every single day. So wow. It's just because once it starts,
there's no such thing as overnight success, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Of course. Raghu, I want to know, thank you so much for that. I want to take you a little away now from just setting up Yellow AI and that journey to, are there other entrepreneurs in the country whose story inspires you, that you've said, wow, they've done this really well? Is there someone?
Oh, there are lots, Sandhya. I think so much inspiration from so many people from the company. I think that's one of the biggest factors that gives confidence, is looking ahead of people who have been super successful, right? I mean, I think what Sachin and Binny Bansal did with Flipkart is just mind-blowing. I mean, it's just opened up the entire internet commerce in the country, and competed with giants like Amazon. I think still they are neck to neck out there, right? So super inspirational stuff from them. And a few other entrepreneurs I really admire is Sridhar Vembu and Nitin from Zerodha, Sridhar Vembu from Soho. I think theirs is a different sort of success story without external financing, and completely building out massive profitable companies without external financing. I think that's another sort of story. So all of them have been super inspirational. Companies like Postman, again, is a great inspirational story, which is like the number one in that segment globally in enterprise API management. So a lot of success stories from which we all can derive inspiration from. Absolutely.
Raghu, what words of and it doesn't have to, I know it sounds like a cliched question, but having been through this journey, having achieved a fair amount of success, what message can you share with younger people, or even people who mid-career want to become entrepreneurs? What would you say to them to keep an eye out for? What's a message you'd like to share?
I think the one thing that I can definitely share is that its action is greater than overthinking. So if you want to do it, I don't think there is really we overthink risk, and I don't think there is as much risk as we think about it. So if anyone has any aspirations about starting up entrepreneurship, I think the biggest step is actually taking the plunge and starting, and then build from there. So that's the only thing that I could suggest there, or the biggest thing that I could suggest for people who are
Thank
looking.
you. Have a bias for action. I
Yeah,
agree.
absolutely. Yeah. So starting up, you need to have a lot of bias for action, and action can throw up a lot of data points from which you can build upon what to do. Overthinking is actually a little bit overrated. So I would say, yeah.
Insight for people beginning out on this journey. Now I want to just ask you some fun questions. It's a rapid fire because it's a chat show. Who's your entrepreneur icon?
Yeah, it's Elon Musk for sure. I think probably has the biggest impact on the world ever.
The mistake you've made, you'd advise entrepreneurs starting out not to make.
Dream big from day one is what I would say.
According to you, the most important entrepreneurial trait?
I talked about it.
Bias.
Bias towards action.
5 years from now, what would you like to be doing?
I think I'd like to be doing the same thing, but probably for a much larger company and much larger impact.
Lovely. What's a quote that inspires you, Raghu?
I would say inspire, but I think that drives, at least for me on a day-to-day basis, is sweat in peace eliminates bleeding in war.
Lovely. And now I want to get to know Raghu the person a little more. What's your favorite book?
So I need to give something that's in the startup world, which I think I wouldn't say inspirational, but I think it's something that keeps me sane. It's Hard Things About Hard Things.
Oh, nice. Your favorite movie?
I'm a Bollywood movie lover, so whenever I'm little down, I always love to watch this movie Dil Chahta Hai.
Ah, lovely film. I really think that energy is pretty entrepreneurial that
Yeah,
we collectively have.
yeah.
That's your go-to movie. What
Yes.
do you get time in between fundraising and growing a business to uh, watch Netflix, Raghu? Are
Oh
you
yeah,
watching
I do
anything?
watch a lot, and I watch along with my family. Yeah, I do, Sandhya. So I think from external world, it feels like yeah, founders are always busy. I think it's good to for others to have that perception, but yeah, I do get quite a bit of free time, and I do watch Netflix.
So what are you watching now?
So I think the latest was the 83 movie, and some of the shows I think of late were there's a Aranyak, which is a
Yes.
thriller. Watched it? It's
Yes.
nice. I also watched Decoupled. I like the fun part of it.
And given you're in Goa now, I'm envying you. You're off-site, but this is my last question. I don't want to stop you from going back to having a good time with your team. What is your favorite holiday destination?
Goa.
Yes, that's a good one. You can't go wrong with Goa. Raghu, I loved this chat. I look forward to continuing to engage with you. But thank you for taking the time out. Your story is an inspiring one, and I hope a lot of people watching this take away something from this conversation.
Thank you very much, Sandhya. So it was pretty fun talking to you, and look forward to keeping in touch.